If only we could make God change people into doing whatever we want them to do. It's a really tough, very frustrating position to be loving someone a lot. Like, you're really wrapped in that person, and that person doesn't even know about it, or doesn't love you as much, or doesn't really care, or worst of all, doesn't know about it. So I've heard lots of friends talk about this kind of situation, and I've also experienced it. Don't ask me about it in detail. I will talk about it maybe a few hundred years later. But I know how tough it can be. And so I want to just tell you something that has helped me. And it's not like a quick solution. It is going to take a lot of patience and strength to do, but it does 100% comfort me and help me. There's a lot of solutions that work during the day, like when you're busy, when you're occupied with something. There's a lot of things you can do to keep your thoughts in something else and distract yourself, but it does not really get to the root of the matter. And so every time you have a moment where you are face to face with your thoughts, these are times when thoughts are gonna flood you. So whenever I'm in those situations, I will admit that the number one thing I do is cry. But here's the thing, I don't just cry, I cry to God. Now, I'm someone who believes in God, and if you don't, that is fine, but I'm just telling you what I do. So I cry out to God, because it says, cast your burdens on the Lord because He cares for you. And it also says, don't be anxious about anything, but in everything with prayer and supplication and thanksgiving, make your requests be known to God. So I look at those verses and I think, okay, God is not telling me to be some wisecrack. He's just telling me to share my burdens, my thoughts, my anxiety on Him. So that's what I do. I just pour it all out to God and say, this is what I'm feeling, God. I treat Him like a best friend. I treat Him like a brother, a father, with respect, of course, but I treat Him as someone who really cares about what I'm feeling. I don't think this is too small for God, or this is too stupid for God to hear. Sometimes I even tell Him, God, I know this is really silly, but please hear me out. And of course He does. I mean, that's my faith. That's something I know, is that God listens to every small, stupid thing, no matter how strange it may sound, even to my own ears. There'll be times I'm praying to God and I'm saying things that if some friend were telling me that, I would tell her or him, you're insane. You shouldn't be thinking like that at all. But still, I take those thoughts, those worries, those cares to God. Here's the thing, even just pouring that out to God is so comforting. Because when you know someone as God, who is not a human being, who is not going to judge you, and whatever info you give is not going to alter your relationship with Him, it's such a huge relief. And you may say, you can just talk out your worries out loud and just cry out loud and it'll have the same effect. But it doesn't. When I have cried and kind of talked to myself, it does not have the same effect as when I am actively praying to God about something. When I'm telling God, here's what I'm going through, what do I do about it? What do you have to say to me about it? It's very, very different. And if you're a doctor or a psychologist, you would say, this is symptoms of schizophrenia. But it's what I've experienced. What happens when I go to God with it is, one, He gives me peace. I read somewhere that this is someone who apparently has seen this happen, okay? When a person who loves God cries, He sends his own or her own guardian angel to hug them. I don't know if that's true or not. I choose to believe it's true because I feel that in my heart, that God is comforting me. Another thing that happens is He directs me to certain verses of the Bible that I might have read before, or He'll direct me to something, some word of wisdom that I can cling to and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, or okay, this is what I'm going to think about when I think of this person. Okay, this is a small instance. I have had a lot of one-sided relationships in college and school where I really cared about someone, or I really wanted to get to know someone, but they didn't have the same thing at all for me. And it would feel a bit lonely at times, and I would go to God and say, what do I do about this? How do I get through this? How do I get through college or school with these feelings like people don't really care about other people? How do I get through that? Because I don't want to be alone in this. And then God would take me to the verse like, the way of the righteous is narrow. So it means that you might be on the right path, the right road, but it's a lonely road and it's going to be difficult. And knowing that helped me to calm down and think there are many people like me who are following God and are not popular, for instance. They are isolated because of their beliefs, and it's okay because there are many people going through the same thing. Like Elijah in the Bible, he was praying to God and saying, God, I'm the only one of your servants left in this whole world. And God said, no, Elijah, I have 700 hiding in a cave who are just like you. You just don't know about it. So it's good to know there are people like you, and it was comforting to me in that situation to know I'm not the only one, and God sees that I'm alone, but He promises hope and a future for me. Just because I love someone or care about someone who doesn't reciprocate that, it's okay. And the best part is God loves us much more than we'll ever love Him. That's not good. What I mean to say is there is a being who loves us a lot more than we can. Even if we want to, we can't love God the same way He loves us. So remember that, okay? God loves you much more than you might ever love Him. And He's okay with that. There may be someone He asks you to love who no one loves at all, but He says, you go and you show that I love that person through your actions. God says, I will not overlook a single glass of water that you give even to a child. I will reward you for it. And we don't do it for the reward, but we do it because God first loved us. So I wanted to share with you. I hope that helped you. Let me know if it did. I'm Vihan Damaris on Serious Sunday signing off, and I'll see you on Miraculous Mondays tomorrow. Bye, and always strive to be like Jesus.